Quick gut check. How much did you pay in rent last year? 12 grand? 18? Now imagine sinking less than $4,000, yes, $3,250, into a rambling farmhouse and barn on more than 10 acres, right here in Missouri. Sound impossible? It is not. And that is just the entry point. We are counting down 10 shockingly cheap rural properties with room to roam, each offer getting better as we work up to the best buy in the state. Think space, ownership, financial freedom, but with real talk about fixer-upper headaches, country isolation, and the true numbers behind each deal. Ready to rethink your rent bill? Let's start at number 10. In 10th place, Henry Pond Farm sets the bar for just how low the entry fee can go. $3,250. That's not a typo. For less than a single month's rent in most cities, you get 10.5 acres in Henry County, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath farmhouse with 1,120 square feet, an intact barn, a working well, and your own pond. Taxes? A laughable $620 a year. Picture this, a sagging porch swing, mist rising off your private pond, and the kind of silence you can't buy in the city unless you count the occasional moo from the neighbor's cows. Now, here's the reality check. This is a tax sale candidate, not a move-in-ready dream. The septic system, no permit on file. The siding and roof, let's just say you will be on a first-name basis with your local contractor. County income hovers around $48,000. Violent crime is low at 1.2 per 1,000 people. And you are 52 minutes from Kansas City, which sounds like freedom until you need a hardware store. Still, compare $3,250 to your last rent bill and try not to laugh. Owning land for the price of a used car. Just don't forget the renovation budget. And we're just getting started. Number 9, Barry Barn Ruin is where the dirt cheap dream hits its first real snag. The sticker price? Just $4,100. That's not a typo. 7 acres, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath shell, and a faded barn ruin for less than a year's worth of city rent. Taxes are a featherweight $410 a year, and you get working septic, 90% fencing, and a 45-minute drive to Springfield. Close enough for groceries, far enough for peace. The local median income sits at $42,000, and violent crime is practically a rounding error, 0.8 per thousand. Sounds like a steal, right? Here's the catch. This farmhouse is a foundation horror show. County assessor notes flag major cracks, and you're staring down $20,000 to $40,000 just to stop the house from sinking into the Missouri clay. Foundation peering isn't just a line item. It's the difference between a bargain and a money pit. Picture this, sunrise over a crumbling barn, chickens pecking in the dew, and you, coffee in hand, plotting your chicken coop empire. Now picture the invoice from the structural engineer. That $4,100 price tag? It evaporates fast when you add in repairs. Still, compare that to $1,200 a month in rent, and even a fixer starts to look like freedom. And we're just getting started. 8th place brings us to Solar Remnant Ranch, where the price tag drops jaws. Just $2,800 gets you 15 acres in Texas County. That is not a typo. 15 acres, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a 1,400 square foot shell, all for less than a single rent check in most cities. The catch is you are stepping into the wild world of off-grid living, with a rusted solar array out back and a private well that still tests clean. Taxes hover at $750 a year, barely more than a week's rent in Springfield. The land itself is a blank slate, pond, woods, and the kind of space city dwellers only dream about. But here's the reality check. This one's a fixer with a capital F. Mold, plumbing, and electrical issues wait inside. And the local sheriff's log has more than a few entries for meth lab cleanups in the area. Renovation costs can easily hit from $25,000 to $50,000 before you are sipping coffee on your porch. Median income sits at $38,000, so do not expect a bustling job market or pizza delivery, just pure rural quiet. Picture this, sunrise over your own pond, solar panels humming eventually, and no landlord in sight. But remember, this is the biggest acreage so far. And with big land comes big unknowns. Still, compare $2,800 to a year of rent and ask yourself, what would you risk for 15 acres of freedom? And we're just getting started. Number 7, Columbia Teacher's Lot is where the countdown pivots from off-grid fantasy to commuter reality. The minimum bid, $5,900. That is not a typo. $5,900 for 5.8 acres and a 4-bedroom, 1.5-bathroom farmhouse just 20 minutes from Columbia's college town buzz. Taxes are $980 a year, which would not even cover a month's rent in most cities. The house is 1,600 square feet, plenty of space to stretch out, even if the kitchen is stuck in a time warp and the HVAC system does not know what central air is. There is a classic red barn out back, begging for a goat or a couple of stubborn kids to turn it into a fort. Here is the catch. Termites, not just a few, but enough to keep your local pest guy on speed dial. Expect to budget $12,000 to $28,000 for real remediation and the usual fixer-upper surprises. Median income in Boone County is $55,000, so you are not in the economic basement. But property crime is ticking up, 2.1 per thousand, with sheriff's logs showing a steady stream of break-ins. Still, you are a 20-minute drive from grocery stores, hospitals, and all the coffee shops you could want. Picture this: morning commute traded for cow milking, kids running wild on Acreage, and the only honking you hear comes from geese overhead. Then reality taps you on the shoulder, termite bills, outdated everything, and a barn that needs more than a fresh coat of paint. But here's the financial punchline. $5,900 buys you land, space, and a shot at ownership for less than a couple months' rent. And we are just getting started. Number 6, St. Charles Outpost is where the dirt cheap dream gets dangerously close to suburbia without the suburb price tag. Here is the headline: $6,200. That is the minimum tax certificate bid for 8.4 acres just outside St. Louis. Not a typo. You are looking at a 2-bedroom, 1-bath farmhouse, 900 square feet, perched on land that comes with a pond and partial fencing, meaning you can start fishing or fencing off your own slice of Missouri the day you sign the papers. Annual property taxes, $580. That is less than a single month's rent on a St. Louis apartment. Commute time to downtown is 35 minutes. Median household income in the county hits $75,000, so you are not exactly in the sticks. And violent crime sits at 1.5 per thousand, low for the metro edge, though property crime is what keeps the sheriff busy. Now, let us get real. This house is rough. The roof and electrical both need attention, and there is chatter about possible flood zone headaches. Budget $18,000 to $35,000 if you want to bring it up to code. Picture this: evening light dancing on your pond, a cold drink in hand, and the only sound is the wind in the trees, not your neighbor's subwoofer. Then reality knocks. You are patching leaks and searching the web for DIY electrical safety before you even unpack. But here is the kicker: $6,200 for all this land. Even after repairs, you are still paying less than a year's rent in the city. This is the best access and value before you risk the urban fringe. We are just getting started. Number 5, Urban Ring Fixer is where the countdown slams on the brakes and flashes a warning light. Here is the headline: $1,900. Yes, for less than the cost of a single rent check in most cities, you're getting 6.1 acres and a 3-bedroom, 1-bath farmhouse just 15 minutes from the heart of St. Louis. Taxes? A laughable $450 a year. But before you start planning your urban homestead, let us talk trade-offs. This is the closest you will get to city life on this list: grocery stores, jobs, hospitals, all just a quick drive. But that proximity comes with baggage. Lead paint and security upgrades are not optional here. They are mandatory. The house is a heavy fixer with windows and doors that need replacing, and the county assessor's notes flag both lead abatement and break-in risks. Violent crime sits at 4.2 per thousand, over double the state average. The median income in the area hovers around $45,000. So you are not in the economic basement, but you are on the edge, literally and figuratively. Picture this. You are sipping coffee in your own backyard, watching the city skyline blink to life at dusk, rail cars rumbling in the distance, then reality hits. Your to-do list includes lead testing, window bars, and a security camera or three. Renovation costs, expect $22,000 to $45,000 just to make it safe and livable. Still, $1,900 plus taxes and repairs is a fraction of what you would pay for a year of rent in St. Louis. For those willing to take on the challenge, you get acreage and a shot at ownership. Just remember, freedom here comes with a security deposit of sweat and vigilance, and we are just getting started. Number 4, Ozark Pond Retreat is where the countdown starts hinting at a different kind of freedom, one that comes with a pond, a possible side hustle, and a little bit of erosion anxiety. The minimum bid is $4,500. Yes, you heard that right. 12.3 acres of rolling Ozark hillside. A 2-bedroom, 2-bath farmhouse with 1,200 square feet and your very own pond, all for less than most folks drop on a used car. Taxes are laughably low at $680 a year, and you are only 50 minutes from Branson, which means you are close enough to tap into the tourist rental market if you want to offset your costs. The local median income sits at $46,000. Property crime is mostly limited to seasonal thefts when the tourist crowd rolls in, and the sheriff's log is more about lost kayaks than anything serious. Picture this. Ducks gliding across your pond at dawn, coffee in hand, and maybe a couple of guests in the spare room paying your mortgage while you plan your next move. But here is the reality check. This parcel sits on a hillside, and the soil maps flag moderate erosion risk. That means you will want to budget for some basic mitigation, maybe $5,000 to $10,000, plus the usual updates to bath and kitchen. Total repair costs could land anywhere between $14,000 and $32,000, depending on how handy you are and whether you're willing to do it yourself. Still, compare that $4,500 entry price and $680 in taxes to the $1,200 a month you would pay for a 2-bedroom in Springfield, and the math starts to look pretty sweet even after repairs. And if you decide to Airbnb it out for a few weekends each summer, you could cover your yearly taxes and then some. This is where the dream of land ownership meets actual income potential. Wait until you see what is coming next. Coming to the top 3, Railside Revival is where the headline finally delivers. $34,900 for 9.2 acres and a full-size farmhouse. Yes, you heard that right. That is less than a year's rent in most cities, and you get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 1,500 square feet to call your own. Taxes are $920 a year. There is a barn out back, and the property stretches along the rail line, so you will get train whistles with your morning coffee. You are just 25 minutes from Kansas City, which means real groceries, jobs, and the occasional night out are actually within reach. The local median income is $52,000, so you are not in the economic basement, but violent crime is 3 per 1,000 higher than some rural spots, but nothing like the city core. Now, let us talk about the fine print. This is an archived MLS listing, not a current active deal, but it proves the point. These prices do exist if you are quick and willing to tackle some serious repairs. The HVAC is shot, the foundation needs work, and you are looking at from $20,000 to $40,000 just to get the place stable and livable. Add in the $920 annual property tax, and you are still miles ahead of the rent game. Picture this. Barn doors swinging open at sunrise, acreage stretching in every direction, and no landlord in sight. Just the low rumble of a freight train rolling by. Then reality drops in. You are budgeting for pier work and a new furnace before you even think about paint colors. But the math is simple. Even after a big repair bill, you are building equity, not just burning money on rent. And we are just getting started. Number 2, Bates Asbestos Flip is where the cheap farmhouse dream gets a hard dose of reality. Public records show a $35,800 land bank sale, 3 full acres, an abandoned farmhouse, and taxes that barely break $390 a year. Sounds like a steal, right? But here's the kicker. The place came with a hidden $18,000 asbestos remediation bill. That is right. Before you can even think about renovations or planting your first tomato, you are on the hook for a cleanup that is half the purchase price. The county's own documents show a 6-month delay just to get permits cleared, and local news stories flag the property as a cautionary tale for buyers who skip inspections. Picture this: you are standing on your own land, 3 acres of Missouri soil, wind in the trees, and not a neighbor in sight. Then you open the basement door and find a remediation crew in hazmat suits, billing you by the hour. Suddenly that $35,800 price tag balloons to $53,800 before you have even fixed a window. Annual taxes stay low, but the real cost is buried in the foundation. Literally, the drive to Truman Memorial is just 22 minutes, so you are not totally cut off from civilization. Median income in Bates County sits at $41,700, and violent crime rates run 319 per 100,000. So you are trading city noise for a quieter, if slightly riskier, zip code. Here's the financial punchline: even with the asbestos bill, you are still all in for less than 1 year's rent in most cities. But this is the cautionary tale that proves why due diligence is not optional. Cheap land is only cheap if you know what you are buying. And we are just getting started. And finally, in first place, Best Mix Farm puts every rent versus own debate to bed. Here is the headline: $37,000 all in for 11 full acres, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath farmhouse, and a title that won't keep you up at night. Annual property taxes are just $550. That is not a typo. You get a working septic system, a pond ready for ducks or fishing rods, and a barn that has seen better days but still stands tall. The house itself clocks in at 1,050 square feet, enough space to stretch out, stash your tools, or finally get that kitchen table you can actually eat at. Renovation costs land between $16,000 and $33,000, depending on how much you want to do yourself versus call in the pros. But here's the kicker: the infrastructure is functional right now. No guessing games with the well, no horror stories about failed septic, just a property that is rough around the edges but absolutely livable. Let us talk lifestyle. Picture this: morning sun glinting off your own pond, coffee in hand. The only soundtrack is birdsong and the distant hum of a tractor. Maybe you are feeding chickens. Maybe you are just enjoying the kind of quiet city folks pay a fortune for in rent. And when you need civilization, Kansas City is a 55-minute drive, close enough for a Costco run, far enough for real privacy. County median income hovers at $48,000, and violent crime is basically a non-issue here. No landlord, no rent hikes, no one telling you what you can plant or paint. Now, reality check. You will be patching leaks, trimming overgrowth, and maybe learning more about septic systems than you ever wanted. But the math does not lie. Even after repairs, you are looking at a total cost that is less than 3 years of average rent in the city. Taxes, insurance, and maintenance are still half what you would pay for a 2-bedroom apartment in most places. This is not just a cheap farmhouse. It is a shot at real ownership and freedom, the kind of space that makes the grind of repairs worth every penny. For anyone tired of burning cash on someone else's mortgage, this one changes the math completely. And that is how you win the rent versus own game, Missouri style. Across all 10 of these Missouri fixer-uppers, one pattern is crystal clear. The cost of land and a roof can be lower than a year's rent, sometimes way lower. Yes, there is elbow grease. Yes, you are trading Starbucks for solitude, but financial freedom still hides in forgotten corners. Turns out, the real luxury isn't square footage, it's owning your own time and space. So, which one had you daydreaming? Let's talk in the comments.